Hello. Hi, friends. Here we are. Oh, I'm so excited to share with you today. I'm going to be talking about the 5 lies I told myself when I found out I had an autoimmune disease. So, before we get started, if you don't know me, my name is Toby Hanna. I'm the co founder and co creator of Born to Bloom. And I'm super excited to come share with you today because this topic is so close to my heart. I realized that as I was reflecting on what these lies were and how far I've come in my journey of living with an autoimmune disease, that it's actually been 10 years when I was first diagnosed. So, what I'm going to share with you today is going back to those first few years of being diagnosed and what these lies were. And good morning, Michelle. Thank you for being here. And if you've ever been diagnosed with an autoimmune or know someone that has, stay tuned because this, I'm sure you're going to relate to a lot of these lies, and you get so caught up in it. So let's just jump right in. That the number one lie that I was telling myself when I was first diagnosed with an autoimmune was that I was weak. I was weak. That was the number one. And if you've been diagnosed with anything, it's just like, it just hits so hard that it's like, it just leads to, I must have done something wrong. I'm not strong enough. And especially with an autoimmune, you're immune compromised. So you have like this mentality, like, I'm weaker than everyone else. I possibly can't do what other people are doing. Let me know if you can relate to that. So that was a huge lie that I had been telling myself. And it's not till years later that I had to debunk and say, hold it, that is not true. So, number one, I'm weak. Lie. Number two, it's my fault. That we take it on and we're like, we go into that whole self-blame story and just realizing that's not true. There's a difference between taking responsibility and ownership of your life versus I'm just to blame for everything and, like it's all my fault. So like that victim mentality, big difference on those. And I'm going to be diving into a lot more about what it is, like how to live holistically with an autoimmune in my upcoming workshops that I'm so excited to be sharing with you. So I'll share a little bit more at the end of this. So number three, I have no control. I have no control over this. Like just complete, like there's a difference also between that surrender and being that responsible, wielding alchemist, right? So not having control, like things are just happening to me, and there's nothing I can do about it. Mine, Michelle is sharing, mine is hereditary, so I had the benefit of being able to blame my genes. Wow, so powerful. Thank you for sharing that, Michelle. Yes, I also discovered that there was a lot of genetic information for me to decipher and to play with. And again, it's really interesting where we can just kind of chalk it up and be like, well, that's the way it's always been in my family, right? But is it? So questioning these things, right? Not settling. Oh, so good. Yeah, no control. So you can relate to that one. So just review. The first one was I'm weak. The second one, it's my fault. The third one, no control. The fourth one, my doctor knows best. Yes, this was a big one to debunk. Now, I'm not saying doctors don't know. And I'm not saying that they're not important, because I definitely recommend having a supportive medical team. But I do strongly advocate that you know your body the best. And it's taking that ownership and that intuitive sense of understanding what your body needs, what your emotions, and the whole encompassing aspect of living with an autoimmune. There's some major decisions that go through what kind of treatment plans, how you're going to live your life. And if we're in the automatic stage of, right, like I was thinking I didn't have any control. So when I'm approaching my doctor and talking with my doctor, whatever they told me, they were the guru. They were the almighty that was able to give me the answers. Except years later, these answers weren't really getting to the root issue of what I needed. And it was only till I had to debunk and say, maybe I know what's best for me. Maybe I can take on that ownership of researching and making these decisions for myself. So I love to know doctors know best. Okay, so Katie's, yeah, you guys are relating to this. Yes, great. Yeah, it's really important. And a lot of the times this, I feel like this doesn't want to be said. So here we are, we're saying it because over these years, I've seen such a rise in autoimmune diseases, a lot of confusion as well. And that's why I'm so excited to be sharing and talking more about what I've learned over these 10 years and what my experience has been. Okay, so that was number 4. My doctor knows best. Lie. You do. Okay, and number 5 being, this is the way it will always be. This is the way it will always be. So there was so much that I just settled for. I used that word earlier because it was just like in the early stage of navigating what my autoimmune disease was, that it was just like, well, I guess this is it. Like, I finally have the diagnosis after a few years of really trying to figure out what the heck was going on. And I have the diagnosis and it feels like, okay, great, we're finally getting answers. And then it's like, well, I guess this is it, because I was incurable, right? So knowing like how can we set reasonable expectations for change without settling, and knowing what these limits are so fundamental. Wow, Michelle's sharing that after 43 years with the same doctor, we're still fighting for who's in charge. Whoa, that's big, Michelle. Yeah. I had to go around to a few different doctors to find someone that I felt I could have that relationship with and work with. And it's a partnership. And that's what I really want to instill, is that you are in a partnership with your medical team. And for me, anyone who is saying like they know best and kind of trumping any concerns that I would bring forward, and it's like, I want to be able to have that discussion. And I think that is really an important part. So wow, that's an experience, Michelle. Thank you for sharing. That's a long time to be fighting for advocating for yourself. Okay, so the last one, this is the way it will always be. That's a lie. You do not need to settle. And I think that is one of the biggest ones that I'm also wanting to relay, is that if I was told this is the way it would always be for me, I don't think that I would have my daughter. I don't think that I would have grown or developed the tools necessary to take ownership and understand my body and my condition, to then expand out of it and actually learn how to live with the autoimmune disease. And for the first couple of years, yeah, I wasn't living. And it definitely, you don't want to settle into this is the way it was always be. So for me, with endometriosis is the autoimmune disease that I was diagnosed with. And I would have the flare ups and the emotional crashes. And for years, that's just how it was because that's just what I was told it was going to be. And um, that's a lie. It doesn't need to be that way. And so, those are my 5 biggest, fattest lies of living with an autoimmune disease. And I can see the comments that you guys are relating to some of these. I would love to hear if you're catching the replay. Continue sharing, reach out. You're going to be hearing me talk a lot more on autoimmune disease over the next couple weeks. And the workshop series that I put together is body, mind, and soul focused. So there's 3 workshops. They start in November 15th, 22nd, and 29th. And it's 90-minute masterclass workshops. Like, it's going to be so interactive and fun and empowering, and that's the point. So the series is called Survive to Thrive because I honestly believe and know that we can go from that survival mode into thriving with an autoimmune disease. So stay tuned. I'm going to be sharing more in the next week about those workshops. If you're really excited, send me a message. If you have friends and family that you know would benefit that are recently diagnosed or been struggling with their autoimmune, share this message, put us in contact, and we're going to have a lot of fun learning and just kind of almost reprogramming ourselves, right? Like shaking up these beliefs and empowering ourselves with tools. Okay, so that's all from me today, and I look forward to sharing more with you real soon.